Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat Nasta Prayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavani Naishtiki. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should first offer obeisance unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, Mother Saraswati, Goddess of Learning, Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and Srila Prabhupada, translator, commentator, and our dear most spiritual master. Sa Esha Bhagavan Rajan Yatanod Vihatam Yasha Pura Rudrasya Devasya Mayenananta Mayina. So Isha Bhagavan Rajan. So Isha Bhagavan Rajan. Yatanod Vihatam Jasa. Yatanod Vihatam Jasa. Pura Rudrasya Devasya. Pura Rudrasya Devasya. Mayena Nantamayina. Mayena Nantamayina. Sesha Bhagavan Rajan. Yatanod Vihatam Jasa. Pura Rudrasya Devasya. Mayena Nantamayina. Sesha Bhagavan Rajan. Yatano Vihatam Jasaha. Pura Rudrasya Devasya. Mayena Nantamayina. Word for word. Saesha Bhagavan. The same personality of Godhead, Krishna, who is Parabrahman. Rajan, my dear king. Vyatanot, expanded. Vihatam, lost. Jasaha, reputation. Pura, formerly in history. Rudrasya, of Lord Shiva, the most powerful among the demigods. Devasya, the demigod. Mayena, by a demon named Maya. Ananta, unlimited. Mayena, possessing technical knowledge. Translation. My dear King Yudhisthira, long, long ago in history, a demon known as Maya Danava who was very expert in technical knowledge, reduced the reputation of Lord Shiva. In that situation, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, saved Lord Shiva. Please repeat. My dear King Yudhisthira, long, long ago in history, a demon known as Mayadanava, who was very expert in technical knowledge, reduced the reputation of Lord Shiva. In that situation, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, saved Lord Shiva. Srila Prabhupada's purport. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Lord Shiva is known as Mahadeva, the most exalted demigod. Thus, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that although Lord Brahma did not know the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shiva could have known them. This historical incident proves that Lord Shiva derives power from Lord Krishna, the Parabrahman. Ma gyan timanandasya gananjana salakaya chakshurun militam jena tasmai shri gurave namaha shri chaitanyamano bhishtam shtabitam yena bhutale swayam rupa kadamayam darati shvapadandikam vandeham shri guru shri yuta parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savarutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabando Jigatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanda Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sutirevi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpaturubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Putitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. My dear King Yudhisthira, long, long ago in history, a demon known as Mayadanava, who was very expert in technical knowledge, reduced the reputation of Lord Shiva. In that situation, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, saved Lord Shiva. So thank you everyone for coming to Srimad Bhagavatam class this morning. I feel very honored, although completely unqualified, to sit here and speak, especially in Vrindavan Dham. I'm coming back here after an absence. I was managing 24-hour kirtan a couple years ago, and my mother, who was 98 at the time, needed some help, so I went and took care of her for about a year and a half, and now I'm back. And so I feel so fortunate just to be able to come back here and maybe a little bit more realizations as to how unqualified I am anyway. Anyway, I'm really happy to be back. Thank you. So Narada Muni is narrating this to, who's he narrating to? Yudhishthira Maharaj, yeah. And so evidently there's other personalities present. I had heard that this was being narrated at the time of the Rajasuya sacrifice, and therefore Lord Shiva himself was present, Lord Brahma, and other exalted personalities. After he has described the narration of Prahlad Maharaj, explaining his exalted qualities at some length, and about the extraordinary incarnation of Krishna as Lord Nrsingadev. So, and he's talking about how Prahlad Maharaj was completely dependent on Lord Nrsingadev, and how Lord Nrsingadev appeared to protect Prahlad Maharaj, although Prahlad Maharaj didn't ask for such protection, because he always felt protected by the Lord. And so that we can see that various devotees in difficulty at different times call out to the Lord. The Pandavas, when they were in difficulty, called out to the Lord. The demigods, when they're in difficulty, they call out to the Lord. Sometimes when devotees are in difficulty like that, then the Lord just appears one time. Just like for Draupadi, Lord Krishna appeared and supplied her unlimited garment to protect her. And like that, different devotees are protected by the Lord in different circumstances. And then sometimes devotees will perform some tapasya and the Lord will appear. Just like Dhruva Maharaj performed tapasya and the Lord appeared. And just appeared, that one time before him. And he had to wait a long time before he could have the Lord's personal darshan again. Narada Muni, in his pastime as a maidservant's son, the Lord appeared to him that one time. And then it's considered more fortunate than that are the Pandavas, who had constant association, more or less, with Krishna. And Krishna acted as their cousin, as their friend, just especially in the case of Arjuna. He acted as their well-wisher, as their guru, sometimes, and as their servant, as their messenger. So in that way, devotees were protected by the Lord and had his association in different circumstances. More fortunate than the Pandavas are considered those devotees to whom Lord Krishna appeared in their home, like Vasudeva and Devaki. Of course, their home was the prison where Krishna appeared. And then more fortunate than them are considered devotees like Jasoda Mai and Nanda Maharaj, where Krishna lived in their house for so long and grew up there and performed so many different pastimes. And more fortunate than those devotees are considered the gopis, because it's explained that Krishna always spent all his time with the gopis. Now, how is that if Krishna left Vrindavan? It's explained that because of the intensity of the love of the devotee, of the gopis, that Krishna never left them. And there wasn't any time when the gopis, either personally or in separation, intensely felt the association of Krishna. So, as explained, King Yudhisthira, upon hearing the narration of Prahlad, was feeling a little morose like that. So then this is the context that Narada Muni now is speaking about Lord Shiva and speaking about the protection of Lord Shiva by Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this is a really interesting pastime because, you know, who is Lord Shiva? He's Mahadev. He's the greatest, the most powerful of all the demigods. There's no one more powerful in the universe than Lord Shiva. And with his dance, at the end of the cosmic situation, he destroys the whole universe. Just how powerful is Lord Shiva? So in this pastime, and I don't know, I guess I shouldn't probably describe the pastime because Jai Shri Krishna Balaram Radhe Shyam Lalita Vishaka Shri Gaura Nitai Ki Jai. Because the devotees are going to be discussing that later on. But suffice it to say, as mentioned here, Lord Shiva's reputation was protected by the Lord. I'll just briefly explain that Lord Shiva was frustrated in an attempt to defeat the demons. And in that attempt, after being defeated by the demon Mayadanava, who, although Lord Shiva had killed all the soldiers of the demons, Mayadanava created a pool of nectar that all the dead and injured demons were put into, and they came back to life with more power than before. And so, just imagine, I mean, if we don't get something that, you know, we're hankering after, then we'll experience some disappointment. But what is the disappointment of someone like Lord Shiva, who's the destroyer of the entire universe? And he's frustrated in his attempt to, in this case, serve the devotees, the demigods, who are having trouble with the demons. What kind of frustration must be there? So these are all very good lessons. And in fact, in this pastime, when Lord Krishna and Lord Brahma appear and drink all the nectar and defeat the demon Mayadanava. Mayadanava himself, although a demon, very enlightened, he told the demons that our game is up, that destiny is supreme. And he could see this is the plan of the Supreme Lord. And when destiny is there, he said, no one, not you, nor I, nor the greatest demigods, no one can reverse the plan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is very instructive, that even Lord Shiva, the most powerful demigod, he has situations where he has to just call out to Krishna and depend on Krishna's mercy. So then we shouldn't feel so bad if our plans are frustrated here or there, when Lord Shiva himself has to take shelter of Krishna, like that. Lord Shiva is such an exalted devotee. There's different pastimes throughout the Puranas and in Srimad Bhagavatam also, in 10th canto, it's talked about different times where Lord Shiva had to take shelter of Krishna. One of the times was when the demon Vritrasura appeared, and he was cutting off his flesh and putting into the fire to offer to Lord Shiva to try to get the benediction. He actually wanted Lord Shiva's wife. And so he was performing this extreme sacrifice. Lord Shiva, of course, is very merciful, and he awards people's austerities very easily. So when the demon was about, when Lord Shiva didn't appear after some time, then he thought he'll cut off his own head and with his whatever energy he has left, throw the head in the fire. And so when he was about to do that, Lord Shiva appeared and asked him what he wanted. And he said, I just want the benediction that whose ever head I touch will burst into pieces. So Lord Shiva granted him his benediction and immediately ran after Lord Shiva, trying to touch his head. And Lord Krishna had to appear as a Brahmin and stopped him running and said, my dear sir, where are you going? And he, due to the illusory potency, Krishna convinced him to touch his own head just to make sure that the benediction actually worked. And of course, then the demon was destroyed. In the battle of Krishna and Bhanasura, when Lord Shiva came to protect his devotee, he had a fight with Krishna. This is an extraordinary pastime. And in that fight, after different weapons were utilized and frustrated, then Lord Shiva pulled out his ultimate weapon, the Shiva Dwar, which is intense heat. And Krishna counteracted it with the Nayanashwar, which produced intense cold. Prabhupada explains that if there's intense heat, somehow or other, we can tolerate it. But if there's intense cold, it's too much. No one can tolerate it. So in that way, Lord Shiva was defeated and took shelter of Lord Krishna. So I thought there's really nice descriptions in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita of Lord Shiva's exalted position. Also in the 4th canto, there's such nice prayers by Lord Shiva that he's giving to the prachetas. And maybe we'll also read one or two of those. So in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, these are really nice. We don't get a chance to hear the qualities of Lord Shiva like this so often. And Lord Shiva is such a great devotee, but he is so, of course, Vaishnavanam Jata Shambhu. He's the greatest, considered the greatest devotee. But he's so incredibly humble. And he's simply meditating himself, not only on the lotus feet of Krishna, but he's meditating on being fortunate enough to get the foot dust from the lotus feet of the devotees. So in this pastime, Narada Muni arriving in Shivaloka, it says, from a distance, the sage Narada saw Lord Shiva, Sri Hara, who had just finished his worship of Lord Sankarshan. Sri Hari, entranced in ecstatic love. Sri Hari, entranced in ecstatic love, Lord Shiva was dancing and loudly singing the glories of his Lord, while his associates played instrumental music and shouted, Jaya, Jaya. With great affection, he praised his assistants like Nandishvar as well as the goddess Uma, who is expertly clapping her hands. The sight of all this delighted Narada. Vibrating his veena and nodding his head to show respect, he called out several times, "You are the greatest recipient of Krishna's mercy." And in a sweet voice, he recounted to Lord Shiva everything just told him by their father, Lord Brahma. Narada came closer, hoping to touch the dust of the lotus feet of Lord Shiva, the best friend of the Vaishnavas. But as the sage came near, Lord Shiva, in a flood of Krishna-conscious pleasure, driving him wild, forcibly drew Narada closer and embraced him. Without hesitating, he asked Narada with respect, "Dear son of Brahma, what are you saying?" Absorbed in the taste of talking with that superlative Vaishnava, Narada, Lord Shiva then stopped his playful dancing and sat down. He sat on a straw mat in the Virasana posture, and a few of his gentle companions seated themselves around him. With devotion, Narada bowed down to Lord Shiva, the life and soul of Parvati, and chanted the 6-syllable Rudra mantra. Narada then recited prayers glorifying Lord Shiva as the supreme controller of the universe, and elaborately proclaimed the fullness of the mercy bestowed upon Lord Shiva by Lord Krishna. Lord Rudra, the best of Vaishnavas, the initiator of devotional service to Vishnu, at once covered his ears and angrily replied. Sri Rudra said, "I am not the Lord of the universe, nor an object of Krishna's mercy. I am just a poor soul, always hankering for the favor of the servants of his servants." Shri Mahadev ki jai. Sri Parikshit said, upon hearing this, the sage Narada was shocked, thinking that he had acted offensively. He had once stopped praising Lord Shiva's non-difference from Krishna and began to speak in a soft voice. Sri Narada said, "You certainly know the confidential mysterious glories of Lord Vishnu and the Vaishnavas, and you expertly explain these glories. The best Vaishnavas therefore aspire for your mercy. Lord Krishna also has great regard for you and extensively spreads your glories. Has Krishna not worshipped you many times in his various incarnations and taken from you many boons?" Sri Parikshit said, hearing this, Lord Shiva could no longer maintain his gravity. Ashamed, he sprang to his feet. He covered Narada's mouth with both hands. And he said, "Don't even mention that arrogance of mine." He then boldly told Narada with surprise in his voice, "Just see the incomprehensible power of the pastimes of the Supreme Lord." And in the purport it says, putting aside his embarrassment, Lord Shiva pointed out to Narada the wonderful uniqueness of the pastimes that the Supreme Lord enacts with his devotees, in which the Lord takes upon himself many severe vows and penances just to win the devotees' blessings. "Oh, my Lord is so sober," said Lord Shiva. "He is such a deep and varied ocean of great qualities. Even though I have committed many kinds of offenses against him, he still does not reject me." Sri Parikshit said, seeing Lord Shiva completely absorbed in the transcendental taste of pure devotion for Krishna, Narada, pleased beyond limit, grasped Lord Shiva's lotus feet and made him sit down again and spoke to appease him. Just see the exalted position of Lord Shiva. So humble. So incredibly humble. So this is something we can aspire for. And when we see great devotees, controllers of the universe like that, experience such dainya, such extreme humility, it kind of helps put us in our place. And, it's explained that just like just like Narada Muni was noticing that King Yudhisthira was feeling a little bit morose when he was here is Prahlad Maharaj, such a great devotee, that Lord Nrsingadev is appeared, and Prahlad Maharaj didn't even call him. And just see what Prahlad was put through. He was put into a pot of boiling oil. He was put into a pit of hundreds of poisonous serpents. He was thrown from a cliff. And he was always chanting Krishna's name. And he always knew that Krishna would protect him. So how great was his tolerance. So hearing these things also, we can get some, some instruction, because, what is the difficulties we're put in compared to that? And all these things are different aspects of Krishna. This is the kind of the underlying message in all of this, that all of us want to become fortunate. Of course, we've already become unlimitedly fortunate, and the opportunity to execute pure devotional service is now before us. And so then day after day we have to ask ourselves that how should we apply ourselves to this incredibly powerful process of pure devotional service, which is a personification of Bhakti Devi and is non-different from Krishna himself. So the level of humility and of tolerance which we need to adopt to be able to get enough mercy from Krishna so we can wipe out our previous sinful activities and our correct our bad habits is it's a tall order, especially someone from my background. I've realized gradually that it's an impossible task, and that's the lesson in this also, that it's insurmountable. I mean, whatever obstacles we may overcome in our day-to-day life of Krishna consciousness, we have to be careful and not start thinking, oh, I'm such an advanced devotee because I've surmounted these obstacles. These are actually all due to Krishna's mercy. And I have the experience in chanting my japa that generally what happens is the anarthas tend to retreat to the most difficult place of my consciousness to reach. And it takes an incredible amount of humility and advanced Vaishnava qualities, which I don't possess, to be able to actually purify myself of these things. So it's a gradual process, but realizing that ultimately it's Krishna's mercy. Not that we can't endeavor, we always have to endeavor, although we're unqualified to achieve Krishna's mercy. But we can speed the path up by by endeavoring to associate with more advanced devotees. And when we're reading these pastimes of Lord Shiva. We're associating with Lord Shiva himself. And again, I have to mention that these prayers of Lord Shiva are so nice to recite. Like in the Bhagavad-Gita, you see these such amazing qualities of Lord Shiva. And in this prayer that Lord Shiva recites to the prachetas, they're also full of these different wonderful attitudes, and helps us to keep close within our heart these advanced Vaishnava qualities which we should always be aspiring for. So, like King Yudhisthira was feeling a little morose because here's Prahlad, there's such a great devotee that even without calling Krishna, Krishna appears as Lord Nrsingadev. So also many times in our devotional service, we'll feel morose that, oh, there's this devotee, he's chanting so much nicer than I can chant, or someone's performing a service so much nicer than we are. And of course, you know, we have the example of someone like Srila Prabhupada, who is such an advanced Vaishnava. I remember when I was serving Srila Prabhupada for a short time as temple commander in Mayapur, and I had the ability to go into Prabhupada's room at any time. And I used to go in there often. But at this time in 1976, there were many people coming to visit Srila Prabhupada, many of them, you know, from India. So they were speaking Hindi and Bengali, and I didn't understand a word they were saying. So I would just sit in the corner and I would observe Srila Prabhupada. And of course, now through the miracle of technology, we're able to see videos of Srila Prabhupada. And the amazing thing was just in sitting there silently and hearing Srila Prabhupada. Of course, I didn't understand anything, but he was so connected with Krishna to just watch him. And every movement of his hand and how he would speak, his demeanor and his attitude was so instructive. And after sitting there in his room for like an hour, I would leave feeling like I just had this incredible instruction in, you know, observing the absolute truth in action. And so, the qualities of advanced devotees like that, you know, we should always aspire for. And we should not, I mean, it's good to feel morose in the sense that we should always feel ourselves humble and unqualified. And if we do have a wonderful ability to sing in kirtan or to memory to recite many verses, and we may become a great scholar, we have to be careful because these can always, as nice as the qualities are, they can become fuel for our false ego. So we always have to keep ourselves in check. But we should never become too frustrated in our devotional service, thinking, oh, I'm so fallen. You know, I have so far to go. But we should never belittle ourselves in that way, because devotional service is, the process itself is inconceivable. And of course that is the power and the importance of association of devotees, because it's really only through the association of devotees which we can gauge our actual level of spiritual advancement. I heard Mukundadat Prabhu, the Prabhupada disciple, scholar, who mentioned once in class, and I took it as a very important point, said the most important thing in Krishna consciousness is to understand where we are at in our devotional career at any particular point in time. And it's the most difficult thing to really understand. And so, having association with devotees that are like mirrors, we can understand ourselves more. But we should never get to the point to feel, absolutely frustrated. And like I mentioned, belittle ourselves. And when we get to that point, then we should start thinking, what's Srila Prabhupada's attitude toward us? What's our spiritual master thinking about it? What does Krishna think about us now also? It's explained also that Krishna also has the quality of like belittling him, just like Lord Shiva. He doesn't like to hear himself glorified. He wants to glorify the devotees and see that the devotees are glorified. And so, and just like, for example, Srila Prabhupada, he had said that however he is pleased by some service we may offer him, we should understand that just like the grandfather is even more pleased with the grandson than the father, the relationship is in general is even more sweet between the grandson and the granddaughter and the grandfather, like that, and the grandmother. And so he says, however pleased I am with you, he said, you should understand that my spiritual master is infinitely more pleased with you than I am. So we have this power of this association in devotional service. And this is also one of the reasons why this process is so incredibly powerful. That we have the whole power of not only the association with our God brothers and God sisters and our spiritual master, but we have the whole disciplic succession since time immemorial that are giving us their blessings and their association. And we should always remember that although unseen and unheard maybe, that all our devotional activities are being recorded. And simply by a slight adjustment in our attitude, and we can start becoming conscious that Krishna is there at every second in our devotional development. There's a nice verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. It helps us remember the kind of attitude to absorb, so that we can, as much as possible, be able to access Krishna's mercy. Tatenu kampam susumikshmana Vonjana evatma kritam vipakam ridvag vapur bir viridam namaste jivete yomukti pade sadayabak. My dear Lord, one who earnestly waits for you to bestow your causeless mercy upon him, all the while patiently suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds, and offering you respectful obeisances with his heart, words, and body, he is surely eligible for liberation, for it has become his rightful claim. So I think we'll stop here if anyone has any comments or questions or criticisms. Yes, Prabhu, Hare Krishna. Okay. And then next, this devotee over here has a question.
Thank you, Babu. It's a very inspiring lecture. After seeing Srila Prabhupada in his room in Mayapur, you are feeling like being instructed by Prabhupada. Why is that? How is it possible? Because you do not understand what he is saying.
Well, I tried to already explain that, someone like Srila Prabhupada, because he's directly with Krishna at every moment, therefore he's Sakshad Hari. He is non-different from Krishna. He's the external manifestation of Super Soul. And so, it's bewildering, the action of a pure devotee, because he doesn't appear at all like a pure devotee. During the disappearance festival of Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj, I explained how I had first seen him in Bhubaneswar. And many of us Western devotees had a very offensive attitude towards him. And we were very puffed up, big collectors from America. We thought, we're doing all this big service, what is he doing? And even some devotees, some older, actually some sannyasi, one sannyasi in particular was, verbally criticizing him like that. But he was so humble. He was, that quality of dainya, that extreme humility that advanced devotees feel. They actually feel that way. And so in Srila Prabhupada, of course, is kind of an extreme example of that. He was, so special incarnation of Krishna for, big acharya like that. And when devotees was with them, he was so concerned. Even on his deathbed, he was concerned about the other devotees' health. Different devotees, as explained, Prabhupada's lying there, simply, a little bit of skin on bones, basically. In any other situation, a normal person wouldn't even be conscious. And Srila Prabhupada is asking about the health of other devotees like that, So, like that, and I just feel there's so much lamentation that, we feel after the disappearance of a great soul. Because it's just like, after Prabhupada left, I feel like, I didn't even really know him. I didn't really, and we never thought really that Prabhupada would leave. And I think also we didn't realize how much, and it's inconceivable, the power of a pure devotee, that just by his physical presence on this one huge planet, he was maintaining the spiritual activity of all his disciples. I remember my main service was book distribution. And I remember myself, as well as so many other devotees, even though Prabhupada was physically present on the planet, we felt his presence so powerfully through our service. And, that's there, of course, the Vani, we're following his instructions, but also because of what happened after his disappearance, the difficulties and things, that it really is clear to me how much that he was propping us up by his personal association. So even though we couldn't just run off to India and take Prabhupada's association unless, we got some special permission and it was, authorized. We felt so connected with Prabhupada just by our service and felt totally satisfied. I never felt like I had to run over, and be with Prabhupada all the time. In fact, when I did have access to Srila Prabhupada, I would hardly ever take advantage of it because I always felt that I was just bothering him. In fact, there's one short pastime I'll tell, if that's okay. I know it's getting kind of late. Is it okay if I tell one short pastime? So, as I mentioned, I was temple commander. I've told this story before, but it's just so instructive. And we were finishing the construction on the on the rooms, on the Mayapur, the big boundary wall. And every devotee who was coming early, we were asking him to help because we didn't know if we were going to finish the rooms in time. And this was about, 3 weeks or a month before the devotees were coming. Had a lot of work still to be done. So I was very frustrated because there was one devotee, a big, strong, he was Afro-American devotee, he was from the US, a devotee. And he wouldn't do any active service. He simply sit in the banana patch all day long and chant japa. So this really got under my skin. And I went into Prabhupada's room, offered my obeisances, and Srila Prabhupada was chanting japa. So I felt very kind of timid, like, I'm disturbing japa. And when I came in the room, Prabhupada had his face turned a little bit away from me. He had his knee up, like he often did, and had his arm on it with his japa bead, his head kind of turned to the side away from me, just chanting japa. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So I came and offered my obeisances, sat up, and Prabhupada just sat there, not looking at me, just chanting japa for I don't know how long. It seemed like an eternity. It was probably a very short time. And then he slightly turned towards me and he said, yes? And I'm like, oh my God, I'm disturbing Prabhupada's japa. I said, Srila Prabhupada, please excuse me. I have this problem. Maybe you can help me with. And he said, yes. And he just continues chanting. His head turned like slightly away. And I told him, I said, Srila Prabhupada, we're trying to finish the rooms on the boundary wall before the festival, and we don't know if we're going to finish. We need every able devotee, and we're asking devotees to come early to help out. There's one devotee, he won't do any service. He just sits in the banana patches, chants japa all day long. And Srila Prabhupada acknowledged what I'd said, sat there with his face still turned from me, chanting japa. Finally he stopped. And he looked over at me and he said, so, you think chanting Hare Krishna is not service? That is the greatest service. And his eyes, his eyes got really big sometimes, and he like that, And I was like, Jai Srila Prabhupada, offer my obeisances, and ran out. And so, that was very instructive. So, although I didn't get a lot of association with Prabhupada, things like that. Another thing that was very instructive is that Prabhupada was so conscious about, and we can take, good instruction from this, about every little aspect of wasting Krishna's energy. One time it was time for a morning walk, and I was coming from the boundary wall. I think maybe I was staying out there at that time, and I could see the devotees had just assembled to go on a morning walk with Prabhupada up in Jaivataka Maharaj's rooftop room. I could see them on the roof, and it was very hazy because the sun had not yet come up. But then I ran as fast as I could all the way, got on top of the roof, offered my obeisances to Srila Prabhupada, and I was like, yay, I'm here, for the Prabhupada's morning walk, all excited. And so as soon as I got up there, Prabhupada was talking to the devotees. Prabhupada immediately stopped, looked at me, pointed with his cane all the way to the far corner of the boundary wall where I just come from. There was a light bulb still on. It wasn't even light yet. It was like barely becoming light. Prabhupada said, why is that light on? I was like, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Offered obeisances, ran all the way out and turned it off. Also, Prabhupada in the morning on a walk, he'd be walking with the devotees talking about some philosophical point. The faucet would just be dripping. Not even like a fast drip, soft drip. Prabhupada would stop, point his cane and say, why is that? So why are you wasting Krishna's energy? So conscious. So that was also very instructive. I'm sorry, Prabhu, did you have a quick question? Okay. Krishna what? Yeah.
So they heard that Krishna is God, so it is our duty to glorify him, because even the devotees, they stay away from the glorification because they don't want to be bucked up.
Of course, it's our duty to glorify Krishna. But the idea is that whatever we're doing, even if we're glorifying Krishna, we shouldn't become puffed up. You know, we always have the tendency of that because of our false ego. We do some service and we think, oh, you know, I've done such nice service. And then we start becoming proud. You know, I've cooked prasadam so nicely, all the devotees are glorifying me. You know, I've dressed Krishna so nicely. And of course, you know, it's nice to have that reciprocation from the devotees that we're pleasing Krishna through our service. But we have to be careful that we don't get puffed up. And we should also understand that we're glorifying Krishna. It's our duty to glorify Krishna. But Krishna himself is not getting any benefit from our glorification. We're getting the benefit from his glorification. So that we need to remember.
Krishna don't need any glorification.
Huh?
Krishna don't need any glorification.
He doesn't need glorification. No. He's Svarat. Abhigya Svarat, fully cognizant and fully independent. He doesn't need anything from us. But he's so merciful that he, you know, he wants to see us advance. We're his family. We're his energy. Thank you, Prabhus. All glories to Srimad Bhagavatam.